And you can go ahead, Calvin.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here today. It's really a privilege to be the first talk today. So thanks again for coming. Um, our talk is a story about how AI came and took part of my job away and gave it over to some students. So don't worry, it's actually a happy story with a happy ending. So the name of our talk is Agentic OER Content and Open Source Software. And my name is Calvin Williamson, and I'm joined today by Suyan Park and Diana Lee, and they're students in the Fashion Business Management program here at FIT. I'm a professor in the math department, and I teach statistics and machine learning and also computer science as well too. And the topic of today's talk is about a project that we all work on and that started last year. So I'm going to tell you some of the history of that project, and then we're going to talk about how it's developed to today as well too. So it starts in 2024 with a business course development OER grant that Shelley Cohen, who is a FBM Fashion Business Management professor at FIT, she got an IITG grant to create OER content for open an OER textbook. And these were case studies that were being written by faculty to use in business management courses. So they were about retail, they were about marketing, and things related to business management. And so, as part of that effort, one of the chapters, one of the case studies was about financial modeling. And for that chapter, she was developing some ideas that let students look at financials for different companies and compare them. And so, what she had been doing over the last few years was downloading companies' 10K reports and their annual reports. And she was extracting this financial information from those PDFs that she would download, all for the purposes of giving this data to the students so that they could work with these ideas. And so she asked me, she came to me and she said, is there a way to automate this process so that I don't have to open up these PDFs for weeks and weeks? It would literally take her weeks to kind of get this data together. She had maybe about, I want to say about 20 companies that she was tracking each year. And so I thought about it and I didn't know the answer, but I said, yes, it was possible because it was so painful that I thought there must be something that we could do. And then she also asked me if we could write a web app that would display the data and show it to students in a way that they could kind of digest it. And so I said yes to that as well because it involves software and because I love writing software. But again, I didn't know exactly how that would turn out. So here's what we came up with, and this is what we built for this grant last year, and it's live now, and it's being used in the FBM courses here at FIT and also at some other places as well too. So let me describe it to you. It's a web page that you can go to, you can navigate to, and it's hosted on GitHub at a GitHub page in the GitHub repo. So it's open source. And all the kind of code for it is available to anyone who cares to take a look at it. And so what it does is it displays two companies side by side and lets you look at the financial numbers for those two companies. And you can pick the company and you can pick the year as well too. And we sort of use data back to 2018. So we have about 6 years of data altogether. And so I don't know if you know anything about financial data, but in terms of how it's reported to the SEC, if you look at the tax returns, the 10Ks from different companies, they can report stuff with any terminology, really. it's really kind of crazy. There's a requirement to report these financial numbers, but they can choose to call these things exactly what they want. So total revenue in one company might be net revenue in another one, or net sales or sales, or it just goes on with this kind of confusing choices for these different terms. And I didn't know this about financial data, so I was really kind of surprised to find out that there was hard to get standardized versions of this kind of data. So at any rate, we rose to the challenge and we tried to figure out a way to kind of automate this sort of standardization. So we had to go into these reports and find these terms, and then you had to kind of recognize which terms matched. And we thought about it for a while, and we thought, what is actually really good at understanding differences between terms that mean the same thing? And so we thought about it and we said, well, the AI is good at that. And so for the second step of the project, what we did was we got the data from the SEC website. They have a really great a web format for this. It's called Edgar. The database is called Edgar. And you can access it freely and without charge. So you can get the raw numbers and the raw financials from that website. And then we loaded them up and sent them off to an LLM to clean up. And that really worked very well. It turns out that almost any of the LLMs, we use Gemini, we use DeepSeek, we use ChatGPT, they all worked pretty well at kind of identifying the common concepts behind these different terms. And so one of the things we did after we did this was we figured out we needed a database to store this standardized data in. So then we committed to that as well too. So far we've got a web app that we're trying to build, and we've got a database that we're going to build. And then we've got this collection of data that we have to pull from the SEC websites as well too. But at any rate, on this page, you can compare two companies. You can also compare companies to their segments as well too. So one of the features of this application is that you can take these different companies and show them against their kind of industry benchmark. And we call that a segment. So you could display like Macy's over on the left there, and then the department store segment on the right. And this is really valuable for students that are trying to kind of gauge and compare the financial well-being of companies against each other. And I learned a lot of financial stuff as well too. I now know about ROA, which is return on asset. I know about how that can be broken down into net profit margin times asset turn. And so that's a part of the analysis as well too in this chapter that was being developed for the textbook. At any rate, you can also download the data as an Excel file here as well too. But let me tell you about how we got to creating these different software pieces for this project. So this was last year, spring last year, and we thought, all right, well, we were successful with the AI, and at some point, Shelley Cohen came to me and said, by the way, you can have a student working with you. And I thought, oh, okay, that's great. But we're building software. And so I wasn't really sure exactly what the student would be able to do, because software involves a lot of complicated kind of work, and we don't necessarily have a lot of technical students at FIT that are programmers. So I didn't know exactly what the student would do, but she happened to be taking, the student that I wound up working with happened to be taking a course that I was teaching on the large language models. And in that course, we teach about prompt engineering. And so she volunteered to work on the project with me. And we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, but we started going to Claude and asking Claude to help us do all of this software. We asked Claude to help us with the database, and we asked Claude to help us create our web apps as well too. And this worked really, really well. I was surprised I was able to build a database, because I am not a database person and didn't really know exactly how to handle that. But together with this student, we were able to prompt the database behind this project into existence, and it's out there and hosted at an open source site as well too. It's hosted at a site called DoltHub, which is very similar to GitHub. It's a place where you can host open source databases and allow access just right on the web. And so at any rate, the first version of this software and the database was done just working at the website with Claude. And this is pretty painful because it means you have to go to the website and type in your prompts, and then you have to copy and paste the results to wherever you need it to be. But even though it's painful in that way, it was really exhilarating to see how much the two of us could accomplish. And I was surprised. And so what I did was I thought this is really kind of a new way of working. The ability to prompt these chatbots to write this software for you is really within anyone's reach. And so I wrote a second version of the grant for phase 2 for this year. And I asked if we could have 5 students working on this project now. And we got the grant, thankfully. And so now we're beginning to build out the second version of the software. And so the 2 students who are here today are on the current version of our project. And you're going to hear from them. Okay. So we're going to switch old style because we're all in the same room.
Hi, I'm Ivy. So for the next version, I'm going to talk about design in full. Designer can now do much more than just make static mockups with Figma. They can prototype, iterate, and work together in real time. What changed everything is that every design choice can now be made with the LLM handoff in mind. So when we clearly name layers, build structure components, or set up interaction in Figma, we're not just making visuals. We are also teaching the AI about the context. The LLM can figure out how things are concentrated, what their purpose is, and what order they should be in. And then it automatically create codes, copy, or even new design version. It's not just a one-way it's not just a one-way transfer anymore. There is now a feedback loop between machine understanding and a human creativity. So tools like Figma Make, which we are using, and it's an AI-powered extension of Figma that automatically turns design concept into interactive prototypes. And this make this process even more interesting. Designer can now prompt, preview, and improve AI all in the same workplace. So they don't have to wait until the design is done. You can like literally type a comment in plain English, like add hover animation or create mobile variant, and the LLM will do it right away. It's a change from making things for AI to making things with AI. This new way of working makes Figma a link between creativity and automation. Designer only have to worry about vision, aesthetic, and experience. And the LLM take care of structure, logic, and execution. The result is a workflow that is smarter, faster, and more creative at its core. And then
Hi everyone, my name is Diana. So after Soyeon explains about design to code workflow using Figma and Cloud Code, I would like to show you how our project connects to open data system through AI tools. Our FIT Retail Index web app doesn't just compare two companies' financials side by side. It's also designed to help students and users create their own content using our open source database. Because our adult database is completely open and hosted on the web, large language models like Cloud, ChatGPT, or Mistral AI can access it directly through what we call connectors, which are like plugins that links LLM to the live data. This means that anyone, everyone, even without coding skills, can work with real company data simply by prompting. For example, the screenshot on the slide show a student using Mistral AI to explore our database for free, no login, no setup, just using natural language to request information. This approach allows students to perform data science tasks by chatting, such as show me last 3 years of financial data for Costco and Walmart. The system retrieves the data instantly from our adult database. This is a key part of our project vision to make data learning open, accessible, and interactive. So every student in the world can explore real business information directly through AI tools.
Thank you. So let's see, where are we headed? So this is really kind of surprising because where we're headed changes every single day. Just a few weeks ago, we started looking at creating user interfaces for our project in Figma. And we didn't really know exactly what that would entail, but it's turned out to be extremely exciting. So you can vibe code the applications with the LLM at a lot of different websites nowadays. It's very kind of easy to get started with that. But what's more difficult, I think, is making your user interface kind of match what you're asking the LLM to build. And so we thought maybe we'd try building some user interfaces in Figma to see what happened. And it turns out that within the past few months and past couple of weeks, you can actually have the LLMs access all of the stuff that you're working on in Figma. And right inside of Figma, you can even prompt the LLMs to kind of work and prototype off of your user interface. And so this is a whole new aspect of stuff that we can kind of try to draw on, which is design. So you can do your agentic software coding when you're building your backend, and now you can also do your agentic software coding on the front end as well too. So part of the stuff we're interested for the second version of our application is those kind of interactions and what we can kind of leverage from that. What we'd like to do on our retail index pages actually is add an AI interaction as well. So those pages that we showed a few minutes ago are the ability for the students to choose different companies and show the data side by side for financials of companies or their segments. But it would be really great if while the student is doing that, they could also kind of ask the AI questions about the data that they're seeing. So some of the technology that we built, these model context protocol servers, which Diana mentioned, allow us to do that as well too. So the next version of our application will have the students working on that page and working with the data, but also conversing with the LLM about that exact data, where the LLM can see what's chosen on the page and kind of provide context and extra data, extra analysis as well too. So this whole kind of idea of the agentic workflow from the user interface, from design to the backend to the database, we've kind of have the LLMs at every stage now, and it's been really exciting and really interesting to have the opportunity to do this kind of work. So I think we are about finished. I'll turn it over to questions, I think.
Thanks, Kelvin. Looks like there is just one in the chat, just somebody asking for clarification of what the name of the application is.
So the name of the application is just the FIT Retail Index. And if you want to email me, I can send you the link to the app and you can try it out.
Perfect. And another question, are you utilizing paid versions of AI?
We are using paid versions of AI. It's true. We use many different ones. We use Claude, we use ChatGPT, we use Mistral, which is one of the things I think that is really exciting is that Mistral has a free tier, and they actually are involved with a lot of open source versions as well too. And they have a free tier that allows us to plug in our open source MCP and database into their chatbot. But we use a lot of different models, both paid and open source. Even the ones that are open source, like DeepSeek is an example, still you have to pay for where they're hosted. And so that's basically the cost that we incur on the project is the hosting of the different LLM models and the payment for the calls to those, which are pretty minimal. Most of the stuff that we're doing, for example, cleaning up those financial reports for our companies. We have about maybe 60 companies in our database, and we want to extend that over about 6 years. But to clean up that data and send it off to an LLM is really just pennies each time we do it. So say we have a new year and we're going to draw down the data for a new year. It's literally, a tenth or 100th of a penny to kind of process that. Yeah, that's a good question. Many different LLMs involved.
Perfect. And then one last one before we just get things switched over to our next presenter in this room. Looks like someone's asking, how much does it cost to use Figma?
Yeah, Figma has a free tier, and it has an EDU version as well too, and that's what we're using. For higher ed, you can sign up for an EDU account at Figma, and that will be free. And even some advanced features in Figma are free through that EDU account. What we're doing is kind of saving our work out into a place like GitHub. So we're actually saving the work that we do into an open source repository. And really the purpose is not to leave anything inside of Figma, but along the way, working with the design information and then taking it out and building our open source app. We are going to use that tool, and it's a very capable tool. And they are kind of making allowances and ability to incorporate open source pieces into it. So we feel really positive about that interaction. But yeah, there's no pay for EDU accounts. And then you can buy various kinds of seats for the different kind of, functionality for teams and collaboration. But at least for our purposes, we're going to stick to the EDU accounts for that.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.